Welcome to Discover Barnstable, the official podcast of the town of Barnstable, a podcast where you can meet the people who steward the programs and services that connect us to our quality of life here in the town of Barnstable. We invite you to join the conversation as we navigate municipal government and our community pathways to help you discover Barnstable. I'm Lynn Poyan, and on this episode of Discover Barnstable, we are joined by the Barnstable Council on Aging Caregiver and Support Services Coordinator, Stacey Cullen. Welcome, Stacey.
Oh, thank you, Lynn.
Stacey has worked for the town of Barnstable since 2005 and has over 30 years of experience working with older adults with memory and processing issues. Stacey coordinates structured and social programs for residents of Barnstable who may be socially isolated, have memory impairment, and who may benefit from social structure setting. Stacey also provides resources and support to caregivers in our community, facilitates educational programs for caregivers, and collaborates with area agencies for programming and support for caregivers and older adults in our community. We are so glad to have you here because this is such an important issue. We know that early onset dementia and other things have increased in years. I believe they're calling it diabetes 3. And so can you, there's a lot of people who are trying to keep their loved one home. And so they need to have support services too, because it really can cause a burnout situation. So can you talk about the importance of respite and self-care for the caregiver?
Oh, of course. Well, caring for somebody else, especially somebody you've loved or is part of your life, can be very challenging because most people are not trained to be a caregiver. You kind of hit that moment in your life and you're ready to kind of retire and we're going to enjoy it. And all of a sudden you kind of make a left turn and you're not prepared for it. So at the Barnstable Council on Aging, we really try to promote self-care and kindness to yourself as being a caregiver. We also promote our resources in our community, in the town, but also for elder services, Alzheimer's family support center. So people are connected with their peers while caring for somebody. And we stress the importance of respite. And we have a respite program here with the town Barnstable Council on Aging. And we provide numerous hours and days that give the person a time to regroup as a caregiver, but also gives the person they're caring for an enjoyable, structured setting where they can be productive, they can enjoy the company of their peers, and they can see the positive part of the caregiving process.
That's wonderful. And I just know how important it is. There's been a lot of people that I've talked to over the years who have benefited from the Council on Aging's services and some of the programs that you have, especially with music and things of that nature. Can you talk about the benefits of socialization and structure for the participant in the program?
Oh, sure. Well, socialization, as we all know, is incredibly important for everyone. But especially when you do have a memory impairment or a processing issue, you isolate because it's just not as comfortable as it can be to be out in traditional community. So at our respite program, we really do provide an in-house social structured environment so people with memory impairment or processing issues can flourish and feel comfortable and have a great time and engage with each other and engage with the staff as well. And it's a really positive experience and they feel uplifted when they're going home and their person who their caregiver has that time to regroup and refresh.
And that it's just a community that's providing all around support for the person going through the experience, but also the caregiver as well.
Yeah, we try to make it a full circle. So with the caregiver having that free time, they can regroup, but they also can find some resources in the community. They can go to support groups. They can take a minute. They can go to Craigville and just sit and look at the beach and just say, all right, I got this. Because they know their person is being well cared for, enjoying themselves, is engaged, in setting that structure. And the structure is incredibly important, especially in our program, where we do have, we focus on movement, we focus on the emotional well-being, we focus on something that you don't hear about a lot as we age, especially with a processing or memory impairment. We focus on the fun.
And can you describe some of those programs that you
do? Sure. We have a wonderful program called Music and Movement, where it's a sit-aside exercise that's geared towards the caregiver and the participant to kind of enjoy themselves for nice, where they have coordinated music and movement to fun music from their generation. We also got a wonderful grant from the Cultural Council, which is Music and Sway, where it's live music. And we do some exercise to the live music as well, which is great. We have a art therapist who comes, which is super, so we can express ourselves through art. We do work with the Hyannis Garden Club, and we make these gorgeous arrangements every month. We have fun. We play games, we do golf. We do your not traditional bingo. We do name that tune. So we always, kind of incorporate some music, because music is kind of core. So, and that brings out a light in a lot of people.
And I remember a particular friend of mine, her husband, Moon River was his song. And so he was part of the program for a number of years. And whenever Moon River would come along, there would just be a change of personality, a real calming for him.
Yeah, and that's very true. So when caregivers and participants, I meet with them first, and I want to find out a little bit of background on the person that may be joining our program, because I don't want to interview anybody. I want to come in and find out what they like and what they want to do, what kind of music they enjoy, what kind of sports they like. Are you a Red Sox fan or are you a Yankees fan? That's a big question right there.
And, unfortunately, because we live on the Cape and a lot of people choose to retire here, we do have some Yankees fans.
We do. But we do focus. Like, we have a gentleman, we have several who knew John Denver was a big hit. And we play him a lot. We have, your traditional Frank Sinatra and all those great songs of that generation. We go through Broadway. So we try to find what that person enjoys and likes. And we incorporate that into all of our programs so the participants are more engaged. They feel welcome because, wait, I do like this. This is something about me, which is important. And the caregiver feels confident because they've shared some wonderful information and they know that their person is in a safe, social, structured environment and they're going to have a good day.
Is there a limit to the size of the group?
There is a limit to the size of the group. We traditionally, for our respite program, we have about 16 participants per respite. For our music and movement, we traditionally have about 25.
And you mentioned earlier that you bring in some live entertainment for some of the programs. Can you talk about what some of that live music is?
Oh, sure. We have several musicians from our community who come. We have Julie Charlin, we have Dan McCarthy, we have Daniel Levine. They come in and they perform classics. They may do a theme for the month. We have Dan's wonderful because he has a conversation with all the clients during the performance, and he can pick a song right out of the air that is totally perfect for the moment as well. That engagement of live music is a gift because it's not hearing it on the radio is one thing, hearing it on, our Bluetooth machines, but when it's that interactive, the clapping, the music, the toe tapping, you can really sense that somebody is engaged.
And I have to say that for me personally, live music is my happy place. So I wonder how many people in their previous part of their life had that same experience, and so it carries through to this.
I think music, as I said, it's a core thing, and it brings out that light within, which is great. And the live music and incorporating the exercise with that, or just movement, is incredibly important for all people. But for somebody who is socially isolated and may need more of a structured environment, that music that we bring to them, it's a gift.
That's wonderful. The importance of village office hours, meeting people where they're at. The villages are a great opportunity to meet in comfortable and familiar places. And you've set up a program with the 7 village libraries. Can you talk about that program?
Oh, sure. I have office hours at each library. For 2 hours. I can go there off hours as well if somebody wants to meet. And it's been a great opportunity to meet people in their village. My main office is in Hyannis, the big city. And sometimes when you live in Cotuit or Marston's Mills, it's a ride. But when they know they can go and sit with me and have a conversation and talk about caregiving and resources in our community, it's been very successful and well received. One comment I should say I get a lot is that I may not always see you, but I know you're there.
Yeah, and I do know I've heard from some of the library directors how important your being available has been to their village, because they all consider themselves to be community centers. And you're absolutely correct when, someone from Cotuit or Marston's Mills may not want to travel to Hyannis.
Yeah, and it's a comfortable place to meet. It's a familiar place. It's not going to somebody's office. We can go and sit in the other room by the fireplace or, roam the children's stacks and see what kind of books are there and have a comfortable conversation. Because talking about caregiving, talking about the person that you've loved or is part of your life and there are changes, it's a hard conversation to kind of admit some things that are happening. And I feel the libraries give that comfortability.
That's wonderful. You mentioned resources. Can you expand a little bit about the resources that you provide to caregivers?
Well, the caregivers have resources that will have our local agencies. Elder Services of Cape Cod, make sure they're connected. If they're looking for resources for memory impairment, we have obviously Alzheimer's Support Center. But we have resources right here at the Barnstable Council on Aging. We have a resource library. We have a resource packet, which will kind of provide a baseline for veterans. It would provide a baseline for people with memory impairment, anything in our community that might affect your aging in place.
And the library is something that has been, since the facility opened as the Barnstable Adult Community Center, that was really important. I remember Barbara, it was Barbara Cross, and she wanted to do that in memory of her dad. But she wanted to make sure that people had a place to get some resources. Yeah,
so we have we're really expanding on that. This is our goal for this year, is that we have a whole section on veterans. We have a whole section for caregivers. We have general information about health that's provided by the National Institute on Aging. We try to coordinate information that our community would want. And that's another key part of being in the villages, because all these conversations that I have with our residents in our community, they create the programs and resources that we provide. Just having a conversation about housing, having a conversation about Parkinson's. All right, well, let me find out what I can get and let's create something that would be useful for you.
And how wonderful it is that the Council on Aging is responsive to hearing about what people are experiencing and finding opportunities to assist them while they're going through it.
Well, I think that's important because we're doing it in real time. We're not going to say, oh, well, let's make an appointment next week. We're having that conversation, and especially being at the libraries and having those conversations in the villages, we can get a lot of those resources right there. There's a lot of resources in each village that are available.
That's wonderful. Well, believe it or not, we've come to the end of this conversation, but we have a bonus question for you.
Oh, I love it.
And we want to know, what is your favorite season?
Oh, fall.
Fall? And do you have a reason why?
I love September on Cape Cod. It's the best time to go to the beach, where you just go and there's 2 cars.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. But September and October are wonderful months.
It is. They're beautiful months here. We're really blessed to be here for that. So thank you so much, Stacey, for joining us today. We really appreciate your taking the time to talk to us about caregiver and support services. And thank you, our folks, for spending time with us listening to Discover Barnstable, the official podcast of the town of Barnstable. We hope that you found a new understanding of how your municipal government works for you and our community. Be sure to drop us a line at podcast@town.barnstable.ma.us and let us know what you would like to learn next. Until next time, go discover Barnstable.